So what are the functions of the oil? There are basically four functions. We have lubrication, cooling, very important in aircraft engines, sealing, piston rings and elastomers, and cleaning and suspension of contamination. Just go a little bit into lubrication. We have metal-to-metal contact lubrication. That's the cam lifter interface. That's the piston rings and the cylinder walls at certain parts of the stroke. And then we have hydrodynamic film lubrication that people don't really think about, but it's actually where the parts are separated completely by an oil film. And we find these in main bearings, cam bearings, and we have pressurized oil fed and rotational motion, making an oil wedge that keeps the parts separate. So in those instances, you have a crankshaft riding in a main bearing. The crankshaft is very hard, the main bearing is very soft material. If any contamination gets in there, it can be embedded into the bearing material and it doesn't hurt the crankshaft. But the crankshaft is designed never to touch the bearing. It's always designed to ride on an oil film. And that's very important in internal combustion engines. The cooling aspect is so important in an air-cooled engine because a great deal of the heat from the combustion process goes into the piston. The piston is sprayed with oil from the underside, and that oil takes away a great deal of heat. The pistons can be 400 to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, and the oil extracts that heat and puts it out to the oil cooler along with the cooling fins. Then the sealing, the piston rings require an oil seal besides lubrication, and then all the elastomeric seals, and the cleaning and suspension, and I'll go over that over and over again about the contamination, and that aircraft engines are contamination limited. That means that the reason we change our oil as frequently as we do is because the engines are so heavily contaminated.